Ever wonder what it really takes to make a difference? To create real, lasting change in the world? It's a huge question. Well, today, we're diving into a powerful blueprint based on a lecture from Sheikh Ahmed Al-Sayed that lays out the essential knowledge every effective changemaker truly needs.
I mean, let's be real. You look around at the world, you see all these massive challenges, and it's easy to feel a little lost. But what if there was a clear, faith-based blueprint for people who genuinely want to be part of the solution? That's exactly what we're digging into today.
All right, so before we jump into the how-to, we've got to figure out the what. What exactly is this knowledge of reform we're talking about? Let's break down the core idea. The central concept is something called the centralities of reform. Now, think of it like a shared operating system for anyone who wants to make a positive impact. It's this foundational set of principles that everyone can agree on, uniting their efforts no matter what their specific methods are. It's the common ground where all effective action begins. So this whole framework, it's built on 5 absolutely crucial pillars of knowledge. Each one builds on the one before it. Let's take a quick look at what they are. Okay, here are the big 5. First, and most importantly, knowledge of God. That's the bedrock. Then, knowledge of the prophet's guidance, our historical roadmap, if you will. Third is religious knowledge, for that deep intellectual grounding. Fourth, knowing the objectives of divine law, which helps us set our priorities straight. And finally, understanding the divine laws that govern societies, which gives us resilience. These 5 together, that's the complete toolkit. Everything, and I mean everything, starts here. The absolute non-negotiable first pillar, knowledge of God. Before you make a single plan or take a single step, this is the foundation. And we're not just talking about belief here. We're talking about a deep foundational knowledge of who you're ultimately working for. And you see this play out so powerfully in the story of Moses. Before God gave him this huge, world-changing mission to go confront Pharaoh, what was the very first thing he did? He introduced himself. Indeed, I am Allah. Knowledge of God came first. The mission came second. The foundation was laid before the building ever began. Okay, so pillar 2 builds right on top of that foundation. It's all about learning from history's greatest changemakers, the prophets. You study their methods, their patience, especially the model of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is so complete because he wasn't just a spiritual guide, he was a community builder, a leader, a teacher, the whole package. It's a timeless roadmap. Now with the third pillar, religious knowledge, the how you learn is just as important as the what. This isn't about just randomly collecting facts online. It's about having a real methodology. It means a long-term commitment, learning from actual scholars, always verifying your information, aiming for a big picture understanding, and building your knowledge brick by brick. That's how you build an intellectual structure that can actually stand firm. The last 2 pillars are all about strategic wisdom. Knowing the objectives of Sharia helps you set priorities. It's like a compass. What's the most important thing to focus on right now? And knowing the divine laws, the patterns you see in history and society, that gives you resilience. It helps you see the bigger picture so you don't lose hope when things inevitably get tough. So, you've got this amazing 5-pillar foundation of knowledge. You're set, right? Well, is that actually enough? This brings us to a really critical point in this whole blueprint, the role of action. Let me just ask you, is a library full of books, all that theoretical knowledge, is it enough to create real, lasting change? Can you really become an effective reformer just by reading? Well, the answer from this framework is a huge, resounding no. And the reason why lies in understanding that there are 2 levels of knowledge. First, there's theoretical knowledge. That's knowing the definition of patience from a book. But then there's something called fiqh, which is a deep, practical understanding. It's the wisdom you only get when you're in a situation that is testing your patience to its absolute limit. See the difference? One is information, the other is wisdom forged in the fire of real life. So here's the bottom line. Action isn't just what you do with knowledge. Action is the key that unlocks a whole new level of knowledge. There are some doors of wisdom that can only be opened by actually going out and doing the work. The great classical scholar Imam al-Tabari made this point so beautifully. He was explaining a verse about a community that split up. One group went out into the field to struggle and act, while the other stayed behind to study. And his insight was that the group that took action gained a unique and profound understanding, a deeper fiqh, because they witnessed God's help with their own eyes. They saw theory become reality, and that's an insight the other group just couldn't get in the same way.
Okay, this all brings us to a pretty fundamental question. If this path is so demanding, it requires deep study and difficult action, then what's the motivation? What's the fuel that keeps the person going?
Well, the source breaks it down into 3 ascending levels of motivation. It's kind of like climbing a ladder. The first step is self-preservation. You seek knowledge to protect your own faith and stay strong. Then you climb higher. You use that knowledge to help remove ignorance from others. But the highest goal, the very top of the ladder, is pure service, using everything you've learned to uplift the entire community and serve a cause that is so much bigger than yourself. So after going through the pillars, the importance of action, and the motivations, what's the final formula? What does it all boil down to for true, effective reform?
The formula is actually pretty simple, and it's this. It's not just about knowledge. It's the right kind of knowledge, learned with the right methodology, and combined with real-world action. That is the engine of effective reform.
So there you have it. This is the blueprint for becoming a person of impact, someone capable of taking on some of the world's biggest challenges. The path is laid out. The only question left is, where will you take your first step?